coming to the continuation of the previous lecture, the endocrine system is really complex. Why? Because some glands produce more than one hormone. Okay, as I told you, the anterior pituitary is producing more number of hormones. Okay, likewise the adrenal gland, pancreas, gonads. Okay, so for example, anterior pituitary, it is producing growth hormone, it is producing thyroid stimulating hormone, it is producing adrenal-corticotrophic hormone, it is producing oxytocin, it is producing the follicle stimulating hormone, it is producing the luteinizing hormone. Likewise, there are many hormones that is produced by one single gland. Okay, these hormones, they go and order the other endocrine glands and make them to secrete. That's why pituitary is called as a master of all endocrine glands. Okay, likewise adrenal gland itself, we divide it into adrenal cortex and medulla. In that we have secretion of glucocorticoids, mineralocorticoids, sex steroids, then epinephrine or epinephrine. Okay, likewise in pancreas, if you take, the pancreas is secreting insulin, then the alpha cell, then the beta cell in pancreas, alpha cell is secreting the glucagon in pancreas, the beta cell is producing the insulin in pancreas. Okay, likewise gonads, the ovary is producing testosterone and estrogen and progesterone. So likewise one single gland, it produces more number of hormones. Okay, and some hormones are produced by more than two glands. For example, in females, you would have seen they have growth of hair like males. Okay, we call it a hirsutism, which the females suffer in polycystic ovarian disease. So why? Because this is a male pattern. Growing the beard and mustache in the female is a male pattern. Okay, so for example, the sex steroids, that is testosterone, is secreted by the adrenal gland as well as gonads. So when the sex steroid level in the adrenal gland for female is increasing, then they get this kind of hirsutism. Okay, I will show you the examples with some pictures. So know that one hormone is produced by two different types of glands. Okay, so likewise somatostatin is secreted by delta cells in the pancreas as well as the hypothalamus. Okay, so some hormones have several target tissues. For example, testosterone, it is acting on the bone, it is acting on the muscle, it is acting on the skin. Okay, so like it acts on various different organs, and then it changes the body accordingly. Okay, so now when you see, some hormones have multiple effect. Okay, so for example, glucoregulatory hormones, for example, the epinephrine, cortisol, insulin, glucagon and growth hormones affects more than one biochemical pathway. Okay, it acts in many different type of organs. Then target cells are influenced by more than one hormone. Then some chemical messengers act as hormone and as a neurotransmitters like adrenaline or adrenaline. Then single process may be regulated by a number of different hormones. So these are all the various common considerations about the endocrine system. Okay, so many hormones show a circadian rhythm in secretion. For example, what is circadian rhythm? It is the biological clock. Okay, so for example, per day only 5 ml of thyroxine has to be secreted, means only 5 ml of thyroxine will be secreted on a regular basis. Okay, so this is called like see, for example, you sleep in the morning 8 o'clock, wake up in the 8 o'clock in the morning and sleep 9 o'clock in the evening. So daily you have the same habit. Okay, this is a biological clock. Likewise, for hormone secretion also they maintain this biological clock, that is the circadian rhythm. Okay, so hormonal rhythmicity also changes during life. Example, puberty, menopause. For example, these are all the hormonal changes in female. So only when the follicle stimulating hormone is released, then there is initiation of menstrual cycle. That's what we call it as puberty. Okay, when this puberty, I mean this hormone function is stopped, okay, then it leads to cessation of menstrual cycle. That's what we call it as menopause. Okay, so it depends on how the hormonal surge is present in the blood plasma. Okay, it depends on how the hormonal surge is present in the blood plasma. Okay, coming to the interaction of hormones as a target cells, there are three types of interactions. One is permissiveness, synergism, and antagonism. Okay, permissiveness means, for example, estrogen increases formation of progesterone receptors in uterus. So the estrogen and progesterone will secrete in a balance. That's called, we call it as permissiveness. Okay, the first 14 day of menstrual cycle there will be high level of estrogen. In the next 14 day of menstrual cycle there will be a high level of progesterone. So they are acting in a balance. Okay, that's what we call it as permissiveness. So this is how in the first 14 days the ovulation is ova is growing. Then on the 14th day the ovum releases from the ovary, and when the progesterone is rising, that means what? The progesterone will nourish the zygote when the egg is fertilized. Okay, so both the hormones have to act in a balance. Synergism, for example, glucagon and epinephrine, if you take this affecting the liver, raising the glucose level. So glucagon will increase the glucose level, whereas insulin will decrease the glucose level. Okay, so you have the balance of synergism. Synergism means balance. Antagonism means insulin will act against glucagon. Okay, likewise glucagon will act against insulin. So this is what opposite function. Okay, so these are all the three hormonal interaction method. Coming to the hypothalamus, I have spoken a lot about hypothalamus in central nervous system when I was teaching in previous semester. So the hypothalamus is a very small part in the cerebral peduncle. Okay, hypothalamus is a very small part in the cerebral peduncle. So this hypothalamus controls the release of hormone from pituitary gland in two different ways. Okay, for example, there is neural connection between hypothalamus and pituitary gland, as well as there is blood vessel connection. We call it as portal system. That is, the blood vessel starts as a small venule, then in the hypothalamus, and ends as a small venule in the pituitary gland. Okay, so this is called portal system. Portal system, don't think this portal system is present only in the liver. When I am teaching the digestive system, I will speak more about the portal vein circulation, but you have to understand that the blood vessel network is sort of a portal system between the hypothalamus and the anterior pituitary. Likewise, between the posterior pituitary hypothalamus there is neural connections. The hormones are transferred through the neurons. Okay, so there are many things we can speak. So coming to the pituitary gland. Okay, so I will show a picture and explain. So what you see here is the pituitary. This is the brain stem. This is a brain stem. This is a pons and medulla oblongata, and this is the brain stem. And in this area is called as a hypothalamus. Okay, so what you have to observe here is, you see, this is the anterior pituitary. Pituitary is a peanut-shaped gland. Pituitary is a peanut-shaped gland. This is a pituitary gland, and the pituitary gland is connected to hypothalamus through the pituitary stalk. Okay, so we divide this pituitary into anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary. Some book call the anterior pituitary as pars anterior, okay, or adenohypophysis. Some book call the posterior pituitary as pars posterior or neurohypophysis. So don't get confused. Okay, so now we will speak only about anterior pituitary. We will speak only about this anterior pituitary. If you see here, so all the hormones that is secreted in hypothalamus comes through this blood vessel. You see, this is the portal venous system. It starts as a small veins in the hypothalamus, converts into a big vein, and ends in the anterior pituitary as a small vein. This is the portal system. Okay, so if you see gonadal releasing hormone, okay, that is produced in the hypothalamus, it comes to the anterior pituitary, and the pituitary secretes the follicle stimulating hormone and the luteinizing hormone. You know, this follicle stimulating hormone will grow the ovarian follicle in the first 14 days. Then the luteinizing hormone will make the ovary to secrete progesterone. Okay, in fact the follicle stimulating hormone will go and kick the ovary and make them to secrete estrogen. Okay, and the luteinizing hormone will make the ovary to secrete progesterone. You see, if gonadal releasing hormone is not secreted, this FSH and LH will not be secreted, then the female will not have proper menstrual cycle. Okay, then next, growth hormone releasing hormone is secreted in hypothalamus, and that comes to the anterior pituitary and makes the anterior pituitary to secrete growth hormone. Okay, likewise thyroid releasing hormone will be secreted in the hypothalamus, that comes and kicks the pituitary gland and make it to secrete thyroid stimulating hormone. This TSH will go to thyroid gland and make them to secrete T3 and T4, that is triiodothyronine and tetraiodothyronine. Likewise corticotropic releasing hormone comes and makes the pituitary to release adrenal-corticotropic hormone. Okay, so likewise then prolactin hormone, this is also secreted by the anterior pituitary. So you have to see that the dopamine is making the dopamine that is secreted in the pituitary gland, making the anterior pituitary to release this prolactin. So this prolactin hormone is released during the time of lactation. Okay, when the mother with newborn baby hears the cry of the baby, immediately this dopamine is secreted in the hypothalamus, that comes to the anterior pituitary gland, and then pituitary will release prolactin. So this prolactin will go to the breast, which is a mammary gland, and make the mammary cells to secrete milk. Okay, so this is very beautiful mechanism. So you know, only when the mother responds to the child's cry, okay, you have to understand the auditory impulse and the sensory impulse by the mother when the mother know whether the child is hungry or not, and then the way the child cries, the mother brain will understand that child is hungry, so prolactin has to be released, that has to go to the mammary gland. Likewise, you know, this is the beautiful naturally, you cannot give explanation for this kind of biological activity. It is nature. Okay, you have to wonder about the nature. So let's go to the nucleus. You know, there are 25 plus nucleus in the hypothalamus. You know, one is the paraventricular nucleus or supraoptic nucleus. Those nucleus are connected to the neurons. Okay, so these neurons start in the hypothalamus and comes to the pituitary stalk and end in the posterior pituitary. So through this, the oxytocin and vasopressin is the antidiuretic hormone. Okay, so both are secreted in the hypothalamus, comes through the neuron, then to the posterior pituitary. From here through the blood vessels, the hormone is traveling. Okay, so this is what you have to understand about the anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary. In between these two, there is something called pars intermedius, or the intermediate pituitary, which is secreting melanocyte stimulating hormone. I think it is not mentioned in this book. I don't know, maybe in the future slides it will be mentioned. So we will see. So this melanocyte stimulating hormone will go to the skin and activate the melanocyte cell and make them to secrete melanin pigment. So when this melanin pigment, it gives black color appearance for the skin and also the pupil of the eye. Okay, so congenitally, when there is damage to the intermediate pituitary and the melanocyte stimulating hormone is not released, then those people cannot generate melanin pigment in the body and they appear white in color. We call them as albinos. Okay, they are more sensitive to sunlight because melanin is a good protector for sunlight and UV radiations, isn't it? So this is the thing you have to know about the pituitary. So this is a summary. All I have told is oxytocin, vasopressin, then regulation of release, then prolactin coming in, acting in the mammary gland, Okay, then hormones that is acting on the kidney. Okay, so when you study about the kidney, you will know how the urine is formed, how the blood pressure is regulated. Okay, renin angiotensin mechanism, there are many mechanisms. So for example, if you see the disease, diabetes insipidus, it's nothing but increased urine output. Then a syndrome of inappropriate antidiuretic hormone. Okay, that is, in this also there will be increased fluid loss, water loss. Okay, so likewise, you will study this in the renal system. Just know that role of hormones that is present on the gland. Okay, coming to the posterior pituitary, this posterior pituitary, it releases oxytocin. Okay, so the mother is pregnant at the 9th month, exact date from of conception, the baby has to be parturated out. The act of giving birth, we call it as parturition. Okay, so during that time, exactly 9th month, the oxytocin that is released in the posterior pituitary, it comes and makes the uterine muscle, the myometrium, that is a middle layer of the uterus, to contract and push the baby out. Okay, and also oxytocin helps in the milk ejection, okay, during the time of lactation. So plays a role in sexual function in males and females. We call the oxytocin as love hormone. So no oxytocin, no love. Okay, so you have to keep that. If you don't have oxytocin, you will not have any love. So please maintain normal level of oxytocin. Don't have more level of oxytocin, and that gives more love, that is also dangerous. And don't have less level of oxytocin, that will you will give less amount of love to your partner, and that is also dangerous. Okay, so everything should be in the normal level. Okay, good. So then let's go to the another next hormone, the posterior pituitary, that is vasopressin, which we also call it as antidiuretic hormone. Diuretics means increase urine output. Okay, antidiuretic hormone means the hormone that prevents the excess amount of urine output. Okay, so for example, the osmoreceptors, that is present in the hypothalamus, responds to changes in the solute concentration of blood plasma, also causes vasoconstriction and raises blood pressure. If solute concentration is high, osmoreceptors depolarize and transmit impulse to the hypothalamic neurons. ADH is synthesized and release, inhibiting urine formation by the kidneys. Okay, so what you have to do is, when the blood level decreases in the body, there are 5 liters of blood. Okay, the urine is excreting more urine, the blood level will reduce. So these are sensed by the baroreceptor cells that is present in the arch of aorta as well as in the carotid body. Okay, so they will alert the posterior pituitary, and that will release this antidiuretic hormone. This antidiuretic hormone come and act in the kidney, and then constrict all the blood vessels, and thereby the excess amount of urine release is prevented. So this is the mechanism. Okay, so you have to know that. So especially pharmacology students, you have to know there are furosemide drug that is called as diuretics drug. When you give Lasix, that is a furosemide drug, more amount of urine is released. That is, it is diuretics drug, which allows more amount of urine to be excreted, so that the blood volume will be reduced. Okay, so that is called diuretics. So there are a lot of clinical usage for this. Okay, so I will give you that clinical examples with other clinical conditions. Now this is how the antidiuretic hormone is controlling the excess urine output and preventing the blood volume, maintaining the blood volume. Okay, then what is the relationship between pituitary and the hypothalamus? As I told you, all the hormones are secreted in hypothalamus, and then it comes to the pituitary stalk, to the pituitary gland. Okay, so this is the blood vessels that is distributed between the hypothalamus and the anterior pituitary, the portal system. Then the neurons that is connected to the hypothalamus and the posterior pituitary. This is to the anterior pituitary, and this is to the posterior pituitary. So through the neuron also hormone is coming, through the blood vessel also from the hypothalamus the hormones are coming. Okay, now as I have told you this, the hypothalamus is the main control center for all the pituitary hormones that is released. Okay, so once the pituitary, as I told you, you can see the pituitary will release growth hormone, thyroid stimulating hormone, adrenal-cortic hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone and prolactin hormone. They go and act in the thyroid gland, adrenal gland, ovary and also the mammary glands, and growth hormones that will act on the bone and the muscles, and it keeps the person to grow. So this is anterior pituitary hormones, and I told you how the hypothalamus is making the anterior pituitary to secrete these hormones, and in fact these hormones should go back. That's why when there is tumor in the pituitary gland, we call it as pituitary adenoma, you have to give all these hormones in an artificial manner so that other glands will work. When pituitary gland is not working, all the other glands will start to sleep and complete hormonal imbalance will be present. Okay, so this is a summary of pituitary regulations of the anterior pituitary. The growth hormone that is acting on the skeletal bones and the muscles and decrease in pituitary gland, growth hormone secretion lead to dwarfism. You can see small size children, we call it as dwarfs. They don't grow, they will be 3 feet high, that's all. And when there is more secretion of growth hormones that leads to increased growth, you can google it, dwarfism and gigantism, because we don't have time, we have to rush up. Okay, so you can know this is the dwarfism and gigantism. Then thyroid stimulating hormone acting on the thyroid gland, and decrease in thyroid secretion leads to creatinism in children and myxedema in adult. You can see, we call it hypothyroidism. Okay, then increase in thyroxine gland leads to hyperthyroidism, also called as the Graves disease. So there is more metabolism and they get more angry and more heartbeat and more temperature in the body. So whereas in hypothyroidism the presentation will be opposite. When you call a person, they turn and respond to you in a very slow speed. Okay, then adrenal-corticotrophic hormone act on the adrenal cortex, and then increased secretion lead to Cushing's disease. For each and every disease I will show you the features. Okay, then follicle stimulating hormone, I told you, it is acting on the ovary and make the ovulation. Okay, and if this ovulation is affected, then the menstrual cycle will be affected. Okay, then luteinizing hormone also is helpful for ovulation. Then prolactin hormone acting on the mammary gland to produce the milk. Okay, during the time of lactation. So as I told you, the growth hormone, okay, it is released by the anterior pituitary gland. This growth hormone comes and acts on all the organs like bones, skeletal muscles, then all the other glands. So thereby the growth is taking place. The multiplication of these cells will take place by the growth hormones. Okay, this is how you have to understand. In the picture you can see here is, you see in this picture what you see here is, this is normal person, this is gigantism. Okay, very tall growth, and this is dwarfism. This is due to decrease in growth hormone, this is due to increase in growth hormone, and this height is a normal growth. This height is a normal growth. Okay, so there is you can measure this hormonal level and know whether the person will be having growth hormone in the childhood stage. So if the 3 or 5 year child is having less growth hormone, that means what? Then the child will not grow. Okay, then the child will remain dwarf. So in that early stage, if you diagnose and give proper replacement, then you can expect normal growth. Okay, so likewise, too much of growth hormone release is also bad, because a person cannot grow more taller, and finally we call that as gigantism. Okay, next, hypersecretion. In children it leads to gigantism, whereas and in adults it leads to acromegaly. What is acromegaly? You can see the face like a mooned face. Okay, you can see this is the facial features of acromegaly. So when there is growth hormone secretion after 21 years, then that leads to acromegaly like this. During the childhood, if there is hypersecretion, it leads to increased growth. Okay, hyposecretion leads to less growth. This is the dwarf. Okay, the limb, bones, muscles will not grow, but there will be maturity of the brain. Okay, brain will mature. Okay, next there are conditions where the growth hormone is excess release of growth hormone. For example, gigantism, growth hormone is more. Then in acromegaly, enlargement of facial features, heart disease, hypertension, arthritis, inflammation of joints, carpal tunnel syndrome, that is pain in the thumb, index and the middle finger. Okay, amenorrhea, that is absence of menstruation, impotence, the patient cannot perform sexually, then lactation will be affected. Okay, so as I told you, when there is increased growth hormone release, it leads to cardiovascular disease. Okay, and other diseases like diabetes and hypertension. Okay, so cardiomyopathy is a disease condition of the myocardium of the heart, where there is cardiac failure and different okay, so now you should know the difference between the posterior and anterior pituitary. So this both are the outgrowth of hypothalamus. Okay, but in posterior pituitary the neurons continue from the hypothalamus to the posterior pituitary, whereas in anterior pituitary the blood vessels are connecting from the hypothalamus to the anterior pituitary. Then we call it as neurohypophysis, and we anterior pituitary we call it as adenohypophysis. Okay, in the posterior pituitary oxytocin and vasopressin is produced, whereas in anterior pituitary follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, gonadotrophic hormone, thyroid stimulating hormone, prolactin hormone and adrenalocorticotropic hormone. Okay, these hormones are produced. Okay, so this is the important thing you have to know about pituitary gland. Okay, next coming to the posterior pituitary thyroid gland. You know, the thyroid gland is located in the anterior aspect of the thyroid cartilage in the neck. Okay, it is the largest endocrine gland, but it is only 10 to 20 grams. Okay, it is located in the anterior aspect of the neck on the trachea. Okay, inferior to the larynx. There are two lobes, right lobe and left lobe, connected by the isthmus, and there is also a small projection called uncinate process. I will show you in the picture. Okay, so the thyroid gland is larger in women. Okay, it enlarges during puberty, that is the initiation of first menstrual cycle, during pregnancy and also during lactation. Okay, so it has good blood supply. I will anatomically in the end I will explain you. Okay, you see this is the location of the thyroid gland, and this is a microscopic view. You see these are all the thyroid follicular cells, and these are all the colloid follicles where the concentration of T3 T4 is increased. Okay, and there are some parafollicular cells. So in the histological view you can see there is presence of colloids. Okay, in the slide, that's how we find it is a thyroid gland. Okay, so the thyroid gland is supplied by superior thyroid artery and also inferior thyroid artery. So the inferior thyroid artery is a branch from the subclavian artery, whereas the superior thyroid artery is branch from the carotid artery. So I will explain that with the anatomy model. You will have a better look. Okay, so this is the right lobe and this is the left lobe, and is connected by the isthmus, and in the posterior side there is a small projection called uncinate process. I will show you in the with better picture. Okay, now coming to the physiological aspect, synthesis and circulation of thyroid hormones. Synthesis and circulation of thyroid hormones. This is the synthesis and circulation of thyroid hormones. You see, the follicular cells make a protein called thyroglobulin containing iodine that is stored in the lumen. Okay, thyroid stimulating hormone secreted by the anterior pituitary that reaches the thyroid gland and makes the thyroid gland to secrete T3 and T4. T3 is nothing but triiodothyronine. T4 is tetraiodothyronine. Okay, triiodothyronine and tetraiodothyronine. So they are the tyrosine derived hormones. It's nothing but a protein synthesis hormone. Okay, so they circulate in the blood plasma. Okay, so this T3 and T4 binds the target cells intracellular receptors. Okay, so this somehow this thyroid is able to penetrate into all the cells, but inside the cells there are attaching receptors. Okay, so you know what, this thyroid stimulating hormone will act in all the cells. Okay, and this is a main hormone for metabolic activity. So by metabolism only the ATP ADP is produced, isn't it? So this thyroxine is acting as a catalyst during the time of ATP production. Okay, so this is what you have to understand. You see, in the blood, the in the blood vessels, and the thyroxine is circulating. It is entering into the cell. It is entering into the cell. This is a cell membrane, and it is attaching to the this intracellular receptors. It is attaching to the intracellular receptors. There it takes part in the TCA cycle. In biochemistry, you will study more in depth about the TCA cycle, and there you will understand about what is the role of thyroxine in the ATP production. Okay, so this is what you have to understand. So next, coming to the actions of thyroid hormones. There are many functions for thyroid hormones. One is increases glucose and amino acid. Okay, so then it is increasing the sympathetic activity, promotes normal muscle function and development. Okay, for example, any muscle movement, thyroxine is important. Okay, so in case if a patient is having hypothyroidism, even the peristaltic movement of the intestine is reduced. Okay, the skeletal muscle movement is reduced. Movement will be present, but the speed will be very less. Okay, likewise, then it increases oxygen utilization and heat production. That's what we call calorigenosis. Okay, that increases the basal metabolic rate. Then promotes normal functioning of the heart, then normal development of the nervous system, the normal maturation growth of skeletal system. In fact, thyroxine hormone is very essential for all the functions of the organs. All the organs are functioning in normal way by the thyroid hormone level. Okay, by the thyroid hormone level. Coming to the pathological condition of the thyroid gland, see, decrease in thyroxine level in the body, we call it as hypothyroidism. Increase in thyroxine level in the body, we call it as hyperthyroidism. Okay, so you see, pituitary is releasing TSH, and that comes to thyroid gland and releasing T3 T4. So thyroxine hormone is T3 T4. So in this case, if T3 T4 is less and TSH is normal, there is problem with thyroid gland, isn't it? If T3 T4 is more and the thyroid stimulating hormone level is more, then the problem is with pituitary gland. Okay, so for example, how this thyroid gland can lead to less secretion, I will tell you. For example, autoimmune thyroiditis. Autoimmune disease, there are different types of autoimmune disease where the immune cells will fight each other and causes all the different types of disease like joint inflammation or this kind of thyroid gland inflammation. We call it as Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Okay, that is a autoimmune disease. Then drug induced, some drugs can cause inflammation to the thyroid gland. Then synthetic enzyme deficiency, then sloppy X-ray techniques, Then congenital, by from birth also the thyroxine level will be very less. Okay, then you know what, so in case if there is this kind of problem, hypothyroidism, you can see the baby, there is puffed face, increase in thickness of the tongue. Okay, these are all the features of cretinism. Okay, these are the features of cretinism. And even in congenital hypothyroidism, that is less thyroxine level from birth. Congenital means from birth. Okay, so likewise let's see about the other features. For example, in Hashimoto's thyroiditis, there is inflammation in the neck. Okay, so what happens what are the features of hypothyroidism? One is impaired growth, the growth will be disturbed. Then weakness, because the metabolism is not taking place. Then intolerance to cold. Okay, then thick and dry skin will be present. Decreased perspiration, the sweating will be, perspiration means sweating, that will be less sweating. Pulses, the arterial pulse will be very slow. The patient will suffer from constipation, decreased appetite, increased weight. Then mental slowness and depression, high blood cholesterol. These are all the features of hypothyroidism. Whereas for hyperthyroidism, it will be opposite. So I will discuss that. So what happens if you see the thyroid function? The hypothalamus is releasing thyroid releasing hormone. Then it comes to anti-repituitary. Anti-repituitary releases make this TRH, thyroid releasing hormone, makes the anti-repituitary to secrete thyroid stimulating hormone. This thyroid stimulating hormone reaches the thyroid gland and makes thyroid gland to secrete T3 and T4. Okay, so now what happens when there is adequate iodine level? Then immediately the negative feedback mechanism alerts hypothalamus not to release TRH. Then the thyroid secretion will stop. Okay, so if this mechanism is disturbed, what happens? The anti-repituitary keeps on releasing TSH, and thyroid gland will keep on releasing this T3 T4, and that leads to enlargement of the gland. This is called as goiter. Okay, so this is the right lobe, left lobe isthmus, and this is called the uncinate process. I will show you anatomically in the next thing. Okay, so next in autoimmune thyroiditis, that is the Hashimoto's thyroiditis, what happens is there is T cells activation, that is thyroid, and subsequent B cell stimulation, and to secrete a variety of antibodies. What is a T cell? That is T lymphocyte cell, and B cell is B lymphocyte cell. Okay, so B lymphocyte cell stimulations to secrete a variety of autoimmune antibodies. So what happens when there is proliferation of B lymphocyte cells, that produces more amount of autoimmune antibodies, and that leads to inflammation, lymphocytic infiltration. Okay, so this is what happens in the thyroid gland, and that is what we call it as autoimmune thyroiditis, or also called as Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Okay, so coming to the hyperthyroidism, that is the increased thyroxine level, all the features of hypothyroidism will be opposite. Okay, for example, there is increased growth, increased metabolic activity, intolerance to heat, pulse will be fast, frequent bowel movements will be present, increased appetite will be present, emotion, they will get more nervous and emotion, and you see due to loss of fat deposit around the eyeball will come out. This is called as Graves disease, like like big eye. Okay, and thin body, all these are opposite to hypothyroidism. Okay, so as I told you, in Graves disease we can see there is in Graves disease you can see there is so the eyeball will be protruding out. The eyeball will be protruding out. Okay, so you can see for treatment it is self-limiting. Okay, you can give beta adrenergic blockers or carbamazole or pythyrouracils. Okay, then radioactive iodine treatment can be given. Then it's all, it depends on the severity. Or if there is too much of thyroid enlargement, you can go for thyroidectomy. Okay, generally we remove the thyroid gland if there is any tumor like growth, maybe metastatic or benign, but we go for hemithyroidectomy or total thyroidectomy. But this thyroid surgery is generally advised if there is any thyroid nodules, okay, to see if there is any cancer cells or all this stuff. Okay, next we will see about the calcitonin. Okay, calcitonin is also produced in the thyroid gland. Okay, if thyroid gland is removed, then the calcium level remains normal. Okay, then the calcitonin receptors resides in osteoclast cells, where it inhibits receptive activity and slow the rate of bone turnover. Okay, there is high plasma concentrations, then there is low plasma concentration, inhibits the release of the calcitonin and by the negative feedback loop. Okay, the calcitonin is also produced in the thyroid gland. So let's discuss about the parathyroid gland in the next session. Okay.